one of my favorite things to do on YouTube or anywhere is watch debates. I find them very fascinating. And as I watch more and more of them, start coming up with these terms, okay? And they're called logical fallacies. And basically they're tools to use for making an argument with someone, try and prove your point, but they're illogical. But sometimes you try and sneak them in to try and prove your point, or you can actually point them out to call someone on the illogical thing they're trying to say. So I'm going to just quickly read a thing. Fallacies are common errors in reasoning that will determine the logic of your argument. Fallacies can be either illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points, and are often identified because they lack evidence that supports their claim. So when you're debating, you should either avoid these fallacies when you're arguing, or point them out when the person you're arguing with is using them. And basically, by calling them out, you can pretty much kind of like win the argument, or kind of say what you're saying is not make any sense, right? So these are 10. I mean, there's a lot of them, but these are like probably the most 10 popular ones, all right? So one logical fallacy is called ad hominem. When you're using ad hominem, anybody know what that is?
I've heard of that. I don't know what it is.
Suspense is killing me, Brian.
An ad hominem fallacy is one that attempts to invalidate an opponent's position based on a personal trait or fact about the opponent rather than through logic, right? So I'll give you two examples. I always give you two examples. So one example of ad hominem. Catherine is a bad choice for mayor because she didn't grow up in this town. So because she didn't grow in this town doesn't make her a good candidate to be a mayor.
Yeah, this is nonsense.
So but normally you would say, she's not coming for people. You don't hit, if you don't attack, if you don't hit on that, it does make it seem like she doesn't know about these people, so she doesn't know what's good for this town. But really, not coming from this town has nothing to do with being a good mayor. Here's another one. Hey, Professor Moore.
That's why it's logical, but it's bullshit. Yeah.
You could see how it's a good way maybe to like make a point, but it's illogical. Here's hey, Professor Moore, we shouldn't have to read this book by Freud. Everyone knows he used cocaine. So because he did drugs, that means everything he says, everything he ever did is invalid. That's an ad hominem. You're trying to attack the character of the person, which doesn't merit what the person did. It's just a cheap shot to invalidate them. A red herring.
That I've heard of. I just can't remember.
That's pretty. Ever heard of red herring? A red herring is an attempt to shift focus from the debate at hand by introducing an irrelevant point. For example, hey, what's all Andy? Hey, what's with all this junk food you bought? You're always railing at me about eating healthy. And the person base says, don't fuss, it was on sale. So you're justifying why you bought unhealthy food because it was on sale. That's just another example. I'm so hurt that Todd broke up with me. Mom, just think of all the starving children in Africa, honey. Your problems will seem pretty insignificant then. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
So what does the children in Africa have to do with a broken heart?
Yeah.
But they're trying to say people are suffering more, so you shouldn't worry about. But that's that's a red herring. You're using something else that's irrelevant to make it seem what you're saying is stupid or whatever. What do you guys think of these things?
I like it. Keep going.
A straw man. You heard of straw man? Straw man. A straw man fallacy is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone misrepresents an opponent's argument or position to make it easier to attack. So let's say Senator Jackson is anti-woman. After all, he voted against anti-pornography legislation. So he is in favor of the sexual and violent exploitation of women. You understand that? So he voted against, I guess they're doing a bill for anti-porn, and he didn't want to vote. He voted against it, like porn should be illegal. So by doing that, you're saying, he doesn't respect women, and he promotes violence against women.
Oh, okay.
So that's a straw man. So you're, teaching assistant. Okay, the homework assignment was much harder than we thought, so I think we should give an extra points to students who completed it. Professor, that's a terrible idea. If we give everyone a perfect score for no reason, students won't bother working hard in the future. Right? So it's kind of like the same thing like we're doing like COVID. If you give out money, no one's gonna want to work. That's considered a straw man. You have no proof of that. You're just saying, oh, if you give money, no one's gonna want to work anymore. Another one. Equivocation, right?
Equivocation.
Equivocation fallacy occurs when a key term or phrase is used with different meanings in an argument. So you use the same word twice in what you're saying, but they have different meanings. So I don't see how you can. You're an ethical person. It's so hard to get you to do anything. Your work ethic is so bad. So basically, they're using ethical as you have no moral ethicals because you have bad work ethics. That doesn't make it. It's illogical that. Sure, philosophy helps you argue better, but do we really need to encourage people to argue? There's enough hostility in the world. So are you saying if you teach people how to argue better, make their point, there's going to be more hatred through other people and stuff like that, which does
not make sense.
A slippery slope. We're at number 5. With a slippery slope fallacy, the arguer claims a specific series of events will follow at one point and finish in an extreme conclusion, typically with no supporting evidence for this chain of events. For example, we can't permit the sale of marijuana by doctor's prescription because that will lead to people believe it's an acceptable drug. This will open the floodgates to complete legalization of the drug for use in for every pothead in the country.
That's been proven wrong with the legalization of what weed here has. It hasn't changed anything.
If you don't legalize marijuana, then everything's going to be a stoner. Everything's going to go to shit.
Did that happen? No.
But that's an illogical fallacy. You're supposed to call people that. Today, late for 10 minutes. Tomorrow, late for an hour. And then someday, it will simply cease to show up. Hasty generalization. I think we all kind of know what a generalization is. Yeah. A hasty generalization is fallacies when a broad conclusion is drawn from a small amount of evidence or a single experience. Here are some examples. I felt nauseated both times I ate a pizza from Giorgio's, so I must be allergic to something in pizza. I met 2 people in Greece so far. They were both nice to me, so all people of Greece are nice.
Hasty generalization. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, you could, when you read these things, you could tell, okay, or I've used these things, or, you can hear that. Appeal to authority. An appeal to authority fallacy is a logical fallacy that occurs when an argument relies on the status of the person rather than the ideas. So, one example is my favorite actor who starred in that movie about a virus that turns people into zombies said in an interview that genetically modified crops caused COVID-19. So I think that's what really happened. Basically using the static because he's an actor and he played in this movie. What he says is fucking scientific. Like, my mentor as a PhD in philosophy said philosophy is the most challenging academic discipline. That's why I decided to study art. That's just one guy had a status, and because he found it hard, that means it's hard for everybody. That's an appeal to authority. Basically, you're based someone's opinion just because of his status. A false dilemma. False dilemma, also known as a false dichotomy, claims there are 2 options in a given situation. Often these 2 options are extreme opposites of each other, failing to acknowledge that other, more reasonable options exist. If you don't support my decision, then you're really never my friend. So, not a good friend. Basically, that's the only 2 options. Either you decide with me or you're not my friend. Either you support the new legislation to give police more power, or you want society to descend into chaos. That's it. The only way to fight crime is to give police ultimate power. Bandwagon fallacy. The bandwagon, I think the bandwagon, also known as the appeal to common belief, is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone is persuaded to do or think something because everyone else is doing it. If you're shopping for a smartphone, go with the iPhone 14. It's the best-selling phone right now. The numbers don't lie. Does that mean the iPhone is the best phone in the world? No.
Yes.
It's okay to cheat on exams. Everybody else does it. That's a bandwagon fallacy. And the last one, appeal to ignorance. An appeal to ignorance is a claim that something must be true because it hasn't been proven false. God, anyway. It can also be a claim that something must be false because it hasn't been proven yet. Like, there are ghosts in our attic. Nobody's ever been able to prove they aren't there. That's like a common policy. It's like saying when people argue the moon is flat. Well, okay, prove me wrong. The Earth is not flat. When you say a claim, you're the one that's supposed to give the proof. It's not someone prove me wrong when I claim.
Yeah.
And since you haven't been able to prove your innocence, I must assume you're guilty.